Joining us now is OjyOkpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Junix.
You got my full name today. How are you this morning? Is it the excitement from the Super Falcons? I mean, can we just congratulate these women making it into the finals?
We are going to win.
Amazing. I pray that they win.
Dramatic.
Very dramatic.
Nerve-wracking.
The President Tinubu described it as superlative. Congratulations to these amazing women. Good morning, our favorite Niger wife.
Good morning, my favorite Junix.
How are you this morning? Very well. Rufy on fire. How are you this morning? Yes.
Fulfill your promise.
I will. Don't worry, it's jollof rice. It's not a big deal.
It's always about food with the
Well, all right. Well, good morning to you, viewers. Let's begin what's trending. The showdown at the National Assembly involving the senator representing Kogi Central, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, topped the trends on Tuesday. Natasha was denied entry into the National Assembly complex in Abuja, despite her vow to resume sitting after a court asked the Senate to recall her from a 6-month suspension. When she arrived at the National Assembly, she was initially stopped by security operatives at the first gate. She then alighted from her car and proceeded on foot, accompanied by supporters, including activist Aisha Yesufu. However, she was stopped again at the second gate, which was locked against her. She took the opportunity to address the press, stating, among other complaints, that some of the senators who are against her should be in jail. Let's take a look.
The fact that I've been denied entrance is a statement being made. Our narratives are being shaped, history is being formed and shaped, and policies, again, all of this work together through intentional actions like we have done today. It's on record that the National Assembly under Okpebholo has decided to be in contempt of the court's decisions. And it's quite ironic because they are actually lawmakers. So that puts to question how far and how ripe is Nigeria's democracy in this day and age. And Nigerians should know that I am not facing charges of corruption, I'm not facing charges of embezzlement, I'm not facing charges of drug abuse, and neither am I facing charges of murder. And it's ironic that the people who are actually testifying as witnesses in the 2 federal government cases have cases at EFCC, have files at EFCC on record that they have actually embezzled state funds running into billions. So it's really, let me say this, it's very important I do mention the flip of our judicial system, the flip of how institutions are being utilized to oppress people who are innocent. If this is a country that if Nigeria works, if our institutions are truly independent and strengthened, then there's no reason why some of these fellows who sit there as senators should even be in the Senate in the first place. They should actually be behind bars, and I'm saying that. And I do pray and hope that it is by my actions today and by voices of Nigerians all around, whether in the country or in diaspora, that we speak up and ensure that this injustice that is being meted against me, this persecution meted against me, will not stand.
All right. You know, there's been a lot of reactions, some against and some for Natasha Akpoti's appearance at the National Assembly. And I'll take this one from Pragmatic DB. They wrote, Natasha and theatrics are Siamese twins. She knows she would not be admitted, but wants to create drama. Congratulations, Natasha, for giving social media content. But lawmaking is not about creating scenes and drama. Unfortunately, Natasha is making things worse for herself. Those advising and encouraging her to double down on these types of things, to take this line of action, are her arch enemies. She will realize this one day. Well, another ex-user wrote, in support, I love this woman for her bravery and her firm resolve to stand against injustice and oppression. If you are in the opposite side of the political spectrum, be fierce and firm in your opposing views, not like others that chicken out to offer support to the ruling party, of course, APC, so they could retain their coveted position in 2027. Shades. Such are driven by the love for power, not by altruism. If we have more of her kind in the Nigerian polity, things would have been different. Dr. Abati, you said that you'd like to clarify some of her statements that she made there. We know that the Senate president has appealed the judge's ruling, and I believe she had brought out the appeal saying that it is not the National Assembly that appealed her judgment, it was Senator Godswill Akpabio. Your thoughts?
Okay, it seems to me that this whole drama is unfortunate. There's too much theatrics, with one party going on appeal, with another party also threatening to go on appeal. Now, the best place to resolve the matter is in the court of law. It's not in the media, it's not on the streets. However, I think that the whole argument is about the interpretation of the ruling of the court. And we have found ourselves in a situation in this country whereby the ruling of the judiciary is subject to various interpretations. Lawyers will not always agree anyway, but I think that judges need to be very clear in what they say about particular cases. Now, Justice Peter Nyako is a highly experienced justice, but in this particular case, you have Senator Yemi Adaramodu, spokesman of the Senate, saying what the judge said is that she said, in my opinion. And I've said here that there's a difference between what a judge says, by the way, and what is the main substance of the case. Now we have had judges in this country in the days of Irikefe, Esho, Okuta, Bello, who will go and say, we are activist judges. This is what we say, no matter whose ox is God. But if you look at the CTC, the certified true copy of that statement, the judge talks about Section 60, about A.G. Bendel versus A.G. Bendel versus A.G. Bendel and 20 others versus A.G. Federation and all of that. Section 60, which gives the Senate powers to regulate its own affairs, and just express an opinion about 180 days. And then said, in my opinion, I think you should look at your laws. An activist judge would just say, look, I affirm, I insist, I declare, I direct. Judges give declarative, injunctive, positive orders. In that ruling, there was no declarative or positive order given on that particular matter. So you find lawyers on both sides doing their own interpretations.
I thought Yemi said that there was a directive order saying that that Natasha had to apologize.
No, that's the directive order, which is what we have said is a ratio in this particular case. So even the complainant, even the affected party in this case, she has not apologized. She has not done the newspaper rulings, because there's also some vagueness about who the apology should be directed to. The Facebook satire that Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan put out, the main victim is Akpabio and the Senate. Now, again, the judge was very careful, just say, oh, this is contempt to the court. I think our judges need to be more activist, they need to be more assertive, and this is not me criticizing Senator Peter Nyako, but I think the ambiguity in many of these rulings creates a situation whereby, litigants will now start interpreting the law and all of that. But whatever it is, the best place to seek clarity is still the law.
All right.
It's still the law court, not on the streets. And that brings me to my final point, which is as follows. Senator Natasha Akpoti mobilizing street urchins to storm the national...
Who are the street urchins? Dr. Batoya.
Well, I saw some people, behaving like street urchins.
Okay.
Going to the National Assembly, I think it's also wrong. Because within the purview of the law, it amounts to self-help. It amounts to taking the laws into your hands.
Right.
Whatever the interpretation of the law on either side, it does not lie in your powers to enforce the law.
Right.
If you see any ambiguity, as I've said, resulting from the nature of the ruling, you go back to the same court.
Right.
And I think all of us should operate within the purview of the rule of law, not, resort to self-help and not mobilize street urchins to enforce whatever our interpretation of the law is.
All right, Dr. Mati, talking about this ambiguity, like you have highlighted, the last time I took this story, I believe I quoted Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, and I'll read that quote again, in which he said, he emphasized that the Senate cannot disregard the court's decision, stressing that once a court has delivered a determination, whether by judgment order or recommendation, it becomes binding and enforceable under Nigerian law. And this is Senior Advocate of Nigeria. That's the interpretation. Yeah, that's the interpretation of the law.
If you put three lawyers in the same room, you will have three opinions.
So
depending on who their client is.
Right. But what I'm saying, on this table, we're not going to just say, oh, well, she's wrong or she's right. There's been so many views to this story, and I have just read a very Senior Advocate of Nigeria, SAN, Femi Falana, who has said that the ruling
other senior
might
advocates
be banned.
hold different opinions.
Correct. That's why I said opinions are divided.
Why the judiciary must be assertive and be clear.
Correct. You're right on that one. Rufai, before I come to you, I know you want to spit fire. In the meantime,
trust me now, you know
in the meantime, activist Aisha Yesufu vehemently condemned the actions of the police and the Senate, accusing them of unconstitutional behavior and disregard for court orders. She criticized what she described as systemic discrimination against women in Nigerian politics and highlighted the low representation of women in the Senate. Confronting a police officer, she warned that the police might one day need the public support for their own protests. Let's take a look.
We respect the law. Does not mean that we are cowards. We aren't cowards. We are here to do the right thing. A senator, a serving senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is here on her way in, and you are stopping her. Going through so much in this country. Mothers are burying their children, and the children that we have that are going to go in there and work, and you dare to stand and you kill us. That's what terrorists do every day.
All right, Aisha Yesufu there. You know that she's such a strong advocate, women's rights advocate. Why are you laughing?
A strong street urchin.
No, I never said. I said strong advocate. Go ahead, Rufi on fire.
With due respect, those that followed Natasha, they were not street urchins. They were bold Nigerians that stood for their convictions and what they believe in. Secondly, I'm here with the CTC and it's clear. Let's not dilly dally over this matter. Let's look for empirical facts. Thus, an order is hereby made for the plaintiff to pay a fine in the sum of 5 million naira to the federal government treasury and publish a public apology to the court in 2 dailies on her Facebook page within 7 days to purge herself of contempt. Those are facts on ground. So the apology is not to the Senate. And let's not stop rigmaroling this thing. It's to the courts. I think we've stated that over and over again after I had to read the CTC. Thirdly, for those saying that it's a public spectacle, I'm sure we have selective amnesia in this country. We forgot. How did allegations by Natasha Akpoti lead to her being recalled? When the other camp was doing the recall process, was that not a public spectacle? Who was the first person to come on this table after that incident happened in the Senate that day? Wasn't it Senator Nwaboye that came to speak in favor of Senator Godswill Akpabio and berated Senator Natasha Akpoti? He sat down on this seat you were sitting that day. And as regards the judgments, the reason why Senator Akpoti did appeal the judgment was, and I have also seen a cross appeal to that 5 million thing, was that there were lots of procedural issues. Everybody knows if you want to institute a process of contempt, there's something called a Form 48 and Form 49. Okay. And also, during the process, there had been allegations that the other parts also perpetrated a level of contempt because the so-called parts where they dogged Senator Akpoti for, for writing the Facebook post, the lawyers representing the other party also wrote some things in the paper where everybody was supposed to go off.
And they were speaking
to the media. They were speaking to the media. In fact, they had more airtime. As Senator Akpoti, they are empirical facts. Let's call a spade a spade. Thirdly, the judgments. The judgment is clear. As if we want to regoo room and we want to act funny. When we want to do a K, we act funny. The judgment the same judgment that stated, let's read it together, please. I have the CTC here. I like to talk to facts. The same judgment that stated this, that to suspend a member of a period of 6 months to a suspension of 180 days and the same number of days, and the member is expected to sit in the House representing the people, that I find excessive and overreaching, noting that it will prevent a member from complying with Section 63. And she further said, I am of the opinion that the Senate has the power to review the provisions of the Senate rules and even amend them, act both for being excessive and overreaching. Right. So the facts are clear.
All right.
So I think based on this, she went there to assert herself.
Is it the last
and
day?
It's not
was
a
it
bad...
the last day of sitting?
Yeah, because they are going on recess, soon,
right,
and she'll still come back.
All right.
The question we should ask ourselves is, see, the formative matter has never been discussed because all the panels that were set up for them to really even discuss the allegation.
That's the sexual harassment allegation, yeah.
All those panels were sidestepped one way or the other.
Right.
The question is, see, I will be the first, Oji, to berate Senator Akpoti and abuse her if she doesn't have facts on the sexual, allegations.
Okay.
You get. But the truth is, let's stick to fact. Is it because of the allegation she made that a push for a recall was made? Mm-hmm. Documents were doctored for the recall that we saw?
All right.
All sorts of blackmail had gone on. And we're talking about public spectacle here.
This is it. Okay,
Who asked for a public spectacle in the first place?
All right, we will follow up on the
Let's
story.
follow
I
up
would have loved Mbai's comment, but we have run out of time. I mean, we've said it all. Natasha has gone on appeal to interpret this actual scenario that happened yesterday at the National Assembly. The Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, has also gone on appeal. So I guess when they resume, we'll follow up on the story. We'll take another story now. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has publicly defended Edo State Governor Monday Okpebholo's insistence that Peter Obi, the 2023 Labour Party presidential candidate, should seek security clearance before visiting Edo State. While speaking at the commissioning of Edo Line in Benin City on Tuesday, Wike supported Okpebholo's stance, citing his own experience as Rivers State Governor, where Obi had obtained a permit before visiting. Wike emphasized that these protocols are not political, but are essential for the visitor's security, stating that if anything were to happen to Obi, the state governor will be blamed. Let's take a look.
I've watched on television of recent unnecessary debates, and that is why I say Nigerians forget history. When I was governor, when Peter Obi was coming to my state, he notified me that he was coming to my state. I provided logistics, vehicles for him to use. Because at that level, as a profile presidential candidate, if he does not tell you and anything happens, the governor will be held responsible. And people should stop politicking. Obi, knowing fully well, with their so-called coalition, anything can happen. They will accuse the governor that he was behind it. So the statement you made, you are quite right. You didn't say, don't come. All I'm saying, if you are coming, tell me, because I'm here to protect you.
Meanwhile, the Edo State Governor, Monday Okpebholo, reiterated his demand that Peter Obi must notify him and seek security clearance before visiting the state. Okpebholo insists that it is not a threat, but a necessary security protocol to ensure the safety of all residents and visitors, especially high-profile individuals. Let's take a look.
Well, because of the rain, I'm not going to talk much. Even when they said I don't talk, just one word, one sentence, everybody was crying. I simply said, it's an advice. Don't come to Edo without telling me. Was I chewing hot yam? Do I need 1 + 3 to make my sentence?
No!
Do I need to read encyclopedias for people to understand what I'm saying? My job is not only to work for Edo people. My job is to save the life of every Edo citizen and visitors coming into Edo. If telling him to notify me as the chief security officer of this state is a crime, so be it. I have no regret about it. I repeat it, before you come into Edo State, notify me. It's not a threat. I don't know which one is paining them. Is it because I said they don't have shishi? Do they not say they don't have shishi? So why are they crying?
As it dey pain them, it dey sweet us. As it dey sweet us, it dey pain them.
As it is sweet us. Dr. Abati, please, you let us know whether he needs an encyclopedia or not, whether he understands English or not. Well, you know, the governor is insisting, Vimbai, before I come to you, despite this widespread criticism, including from former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who views it as a threat to opposition figures. Meanwhile, the chairman of the All Progressives Congress in Edo State, Jarret, Tenebe, has again publicly declared his hatred for Peter Obi, insisting that he has every right to express such a sentiment and rejecting the suggestion that dislike would be a more appropriate term. Tenebe made the comment on live television, asserting that his views are protected under the Nigerian Constitution. He further argued that he's an extremist who does not stay in the middle, asserting that if he doesn't love someone, he hates them. Let's take a look.
You see, when he said I made a statement that Peter Obi is hated, I hate Peter Obi. The opposite of hate is love. If I don't love you, I hate you. And I know I express myself, so I don't hide my feelings. I don't like Peter Obi, I still maintain it. I don't like him. And if I don't like somebody, I hate the person.
But hate is a strong word. You can dislike someone without hating them, really, Mr. Tenebe. If I don't love you, it doesn't necessarily mean that I hate you. I can dislike you.
No. That is, if the difference between hate and love is what you are saying, that being at the middle. I don't stay at the middle. I'm an extremist. I stay at the extreme. I don't like Peter Obi. I hate him. I have the right to like or hate. The Constitution of Nigeria is clear on freedom of expression. I can express how I feel about somebody. The Constitution does not say don't hate somebody or you don't have to hate somebody. So I can decide to hate or like somebody.
All right, this was very hard to swallow, Vimbai. And, you know, I think I should just read this tweet that I got from X, from Characteristics, who actually detailed the consequences of hate speech, because that's clearly a hate speech. He wrote on X, hate speech has consequences. Leadership must rise above it. Such sentiments are reckless, incendiary, and undemocratic, especially from someone occupying a high-ranking political position. They undermine national unity and have the potential to incite violence, especially in Nigeria's already tense political environment. History teaches us that hate speech is never harmless. In 2011, politically charged rhetoric contributed to post-election violence in northern Nigeria, claiming over 800 lives. In 2019, inflammatory political languages led to violent clashes in Rivers and Bayelsa states, with lives and property lost. In Rwanda, 1994, hate speech broadcast over radio was a key driver of the genocide that led to the mass murder of 800,000 people, over 800,000 people. We cannot afford to ignore the power of words. When political leaders publicly express hatred, they normalize division, embolden extremist behavior, and erode the foundation of peaceful democratic engagement. I therefore call on the federal government of Nigeria to immediately caution the said APC official and reinforce the need for civil political discourse, the media to exercise greater responsibility in challenging hate speech and ensuring that platforms are not used to promote hostility. International human rights and democracy defenders to take note and speak out against such dangerous rhetoric in Nigeria's political space. We must act now before words become weapons. Democracy thrives on debate, not division. No political grievance justifies publicly declaring hate against another citizen. I urge all stakeholders, both local and international, to join in condemning this act in promoting a culture of tolerance, peace, and accountability. Vimbai.
A culture of tolerance, peace, and accountability. I really love that, because I can't believe that we are looking at the chairman for the ruling party in Edo State. And if you rewind to the election that took place last year, you remember how intensely hateful, if I can use that word, it was filled with this insightful language. There were several scenes that we saw of just the type of Nigeria that we do not want, the type of Nigeria that Nigerians do not deserve. So this kind of talk, you know, we're not saying everybody should gather around the fireplace, hold hands and sing Kumbaya. Dissent will happen. You know, we can have differences, but to get to the point, hate is an intense dislike for someone. So to say that I dislike somebody intensely is a very, very concerning thing, because it goes beyond political differences. This is a personal grievance that you have. And now when somebody has this type of disposition towards somebody, and then it's echoed by, oh, if you don't get a permit for me, whatever you see, you'll take it. You can't blame Peter Obi for feeling threatened by that. You can't blame his supporters for feeling that this is a threat. You're actually reinforcing the threat. Now, if we rewind to what they're saying is the genesis of this whole crisis, they're saying that when he came, there was a stampede at one of the churches where he did philanthropy, and that following that stampede, 3 people died. I saw on another platform where the Commissioner of Information was interviewed and interrogated and said, well, can you share evidence of this stampede? And he was unable to produce this. I just want to repeat that call and that request for evidence of this stampede. Let's see it, let's know it, let's truly know what transpired on that day, because for now it's seeming as though something was created to try and create opposition, to try and make the playing field difficult for an opposition figure. Now, as for Mr. Nyesom Wike saying that, oh, Peter Obi sought permission to come to Rivers State during the election, I think context is always important. Of course, during an election period, when there are rallies happening, when there's that type of activity happening, in the mood of elections as well, because he was also campaigning. Of course, he would have written to the governor of the state to make sure he's on his good side and so forth. So there's politics involved in this as well. But if we're now saying that in this country, if a high net worth individual or a high profile individual decides to travel to a state to conduct whatever personal business he wants to conduct, that the protocol is now that we need to write to governors first, then we're setting a very, very dangerous precedent. That means that even investors who want to come to Nigeria to do, whether it be philanthropy or whether, did Bill Gates have to write to the Lagos state governor for permission to say, please, I'm coming to your state when I'm coming? So this, you know,
very, very high profile.
Very high profile.
Quick comments, then I go to a quick comment.
So a couple of things. I think the authorities are seeing when this hate, when people are peddling this narrative and rhetoric of hate. I'm sure they saw live on TV when Jarret Tenebe says he hates somebody and he cannot stand the person, despite the fact that he was corrected. For good measure, this same Jarret Tenebe, because they wanted to win elections, said that nobody watches Arise TV, that they don't have DSTV, and they can't pay for subscription because of the poverty Obaseki has put in their state. Secondly, both of them, the governor and Nyesom Wike, they didn't double down on it, and they felt it was a joke. And that's a sad thing for the country. And when the governor kept on saying that there was nothing wrong with everything, he said, everything is wrong. There are already petitions across board to embassies of nations and everywhere about the speech of the governor. And the governor does not even know the veracity of what his threats have become in society. But I'm sure there's, because you see, that's why politicians feel disgruntled when in the end, when it's not time for election, you come and say they should sign peace accord. When this governor is saying things like this, who is telling him to have some level of decorum. And that's why I say democracy dies in decorum. That's the sad reality. Secondly, Oji, with due respect, Saint Wike, Saint Nyesom Wike, during campaign, you allow Peter Obi coming, isn't it? Why didn't you allow Atiku campaign in your state?
All right.
Did we know all the things you did as regards venue or not venue? So because it's so easy for Saint Wike Obi, Saint Wike to talk now. He said he let Peter Obi come. What about Atiku? Why did Saint Wike allow?
This application process now.
It's an application process. You see, let's be doing a K in this country and continue hypocrisy. We will see it when the country goes up.
Let me start with Jarret Tenebe, the chairman of the Edo APC. I said yesterday that the people who occupy positions of leadership in this country, they should be at least persons who are enlightened so that they don't embarrass the rest of the community with their lack of enlightenment. Hate speech is deplored all over the world, whether it's Algeria, Australia, Canada, the United Kingdom, or in the European Union. The Council of Europe specifically has legislation against hate speech, whether on the basis of political affiliation, race or identity or religion. And here in Nigeria, you have a politician who says he's a chairman of a party in a state saying, I hate somebody. Now, you know, in Nigeria at a time, there was supposed to be a similar legislation against hate speech. But of course, you know, there was a rebellion against it. It didn't work. The reality is that what we play in Nigeria is a politics of hatred, of hate. Now, when Wike comes along and he says, when he was governor in Rivers State, Peter Obi visiting the state as a presidential candidate informed him and he provided logistics, transportation, and all of that. It's about relationship. Perhaps at that time, he and Mr. Peter Obi, they were on good terms. But for the most part, politicians in this country are not on good terms. And they relate to each other on the basis of sentiments, not on the basis of the common good, of the responsibilities of their office. So things have changed. Events have shifted. If the same Peter Obi were to say he was coming to donate in Abuja, maybe to the teachers who have been going on strike, Wike may say, don't come here. The same Wike that accommodated him in Rivers State. Finally, the governor of Edo State, Okpebholo, he says there is what he gave was an advice. Okay, an advice is a recommendation, not a threat. Okay, but he said that he would not be able to guarantee the security of Peter Obi. That's a threat.
Correct.
And he cited the example of his own personal experience. So I think the governor of Edo State actually needs that encyclopedia. The encyclopedia will tell him the difference between an advice and between a threat. He doesn't even need the encyclopedia. He can take a simple dictionary. And he can ask his commissioner for education to explain the difference between the two phrases to him. So he repeated the offense. He said whether Peter Obi likes it or not, well, he's on his own. Let him come to Edo State. You know, so this is what I say about enlightenment and the mental capacity, ability of the persons that we put in high offices in Nigeria.
Well done, Dr. Bati. Well said. I guess Monday Okpebholo will seek the advice of the Commissioner for Education for a better interpretation of the threat that he made. We'll take a good news report now. In a significant step towards healing and restoration, the Kaduna state government on Tuesday celebrated a heartwarming milestone as Governor Sani officially unveiled new housing units for victims of banditry. The initiative, hailed as a beacon of hope, provides much-needed succor and a fresh start for families displaced and impacted by insecurity in the state. During the commissioning ceremony, Governor Sani reiterated his administration's commitment to the welfare of his citizens, particularly those who have suffered due to the prevailing security challenges. The new housing estate, a testament to the government's dedication, offers modern and secure living conditions designed to provide comfort and stability for the beneficiaries. Families receiving keys to their new homes express overwhelming gratitude, with many sharing emotional accounts of the hardship they endured and the renewed hope these residences present. The governor emphasized that the provision of these homes is not just about shelter, but about restoring dignity, fostering community, and enabling victims to rebuild their lives.
I stand before you as a father, a brother, a son of Kaduna who has walked this soul with pride and pen alike. What we are doing here is far more than a policy. It is deeply personal. It is about people, about shared grief, collective resilience, and unwavering hope. It is our way of telling every widow, every orphan, every displaced soul affected by the cruelty of banditry in this beautiful state. You are not forgotten. You are seen. You are honored. We are rebuilding with you. Standing amidst these newly completed houses, hand in hand with the brave families who have endured unimaginable loss, I make this declaration with conviction. This is the most consequential moment of my life, not just as a senator, not as a governor, but as a human being. Because every brick laid, every roof secured, every key handed over represents the restoration of dignity. This is not about public office. It is about redeeming lives, reclaiming hope.
Wow, what an amazing achievement. The governor there said the most consequential moment of his life. I saw Rufai with goosebumps, excited really. But you know, the initiative marks a crucial point in the state's effort to address the humanitarian crisis caused by banditry and paves the way for further interventions aimed at long-term recovery and peace building. I saw some videos of the beneficiaries of those homes. They were so excited, some were crying. Can you imagine what great gesture by Sani? Really quickly.
What a fantastic gesture. Very quickly, you know, earlier we were talking about, or rather this week we've been talking about infrastructure deficit. And we were talking about the fact that the government, yes, as much as we need the roads, there's too much of a focus on road infrastructure. However, if we're really looking at tackling multidimensional poverty, there's housing, there's water, there's so many levels. So at the subnational level, it's good to see those who have decided to stand on their mandate and do the necessary. Look at these people who are displaced, as you know, needlessly. So good to see.
This is better than the situation we once had in this country, where they were providing Aisha for bandits, and bandits were being given pepper soup and jollof rice.
Absolutely.
But here we have a governor who is focusing on the victims.
This is
I understand that estate, Janabil estate also,
correct.
We also have schools, we have clinics to rehabilitate victims of banditry.
Absolutely.
The focus is on the victims, not on the criminals, who should be taken to court and punished accordingly.
Very well
I think the governor of Kaduna is setting a good example with this initiative.
Fantastic, fantastic. On that note, I'd love to thank you all for your great analysis, as always, on what's trending. And of course, congratulations to all those beneficiaries. And kudos, Governor Sani. Well, that's all I have for you guys on what's trending today. I'll see you all tomorrow.